Hello there, weary traveler, and welcome to this cozy corner of history. Tonight, we're taking a journey back in time, a journey to a world where winters were far colder, harsher, and more unforgiving than anything most of us have ever experienced. Whether you're tucked under the covers or just looking for a quiet moment to escape the hustle of modern life, I'm glad you're here. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. What time is it for you right now? Drop a comment and share. I always enjoy seeing our history-loving community span across the globe. If you enjoy this calm, immersive storytelling, go ahead and click subscribe so you don't miss our next journey into the past. Picture yourself in medieval Europe. The last leaves cling stubbornly to the trees, but most have fallen. The sun barely rises above the horizon, casting weak, cold light over the frost-bitten fields. Every step crunches through the frozen ground. A chill breeze carries the first snowflakes of the season. Winter is coming, and for most people, it meant one thing above all: hardship. There were no central heating systems, no insulated homes. Warmth was a luxury only the wealthy could afford. For the majority, survival during the cold months was a constant struggle. Once upon a time, winters were predictable and snow was met with acceptance. But in the 14th century, the climate shifted. Europe entered a period now called the Little Ice Age. For centuries, temperatures dropped, winters grew longer and harsher, and the land seemed to conspire against its inhabitants. Crops failed, livestock perished, rivers froze over. The famous Great Frost of 1709 even turned the River Thames into a frozen highway, where Londoners walked, sold goods, and even lit fires on the ice. But while this frozen world was deadly, it also sparked moments of human creativity. Imagine young Isaac Newton forced to return home to his family's farm. Huddled by the fire during the Great Frost, he began pondering the mysteries of the universe, laying the foundations of calculus and optics. Even in the harshest winters, brilliance could emerge. For most medieval people, however, winter was not a time for reflection. It was a test of survival. Imagine waking up in a single-room cottage. The air is thick with smoke from a sputtering fire. Your family huddles together for warmth. Fingers and toes ache. Breakfast, if any, is meager. A bowl of porridge or stale bread. Firewood must be gathered, livestock fed and sheltered. Every day is back-breaking work. And yet, families pressed on, driven by hope and the will to survive. Even amidst hardship, medieval people found joy. Take St. Stephen's Day, December 26th, a midwinter celebration where the social order briefly flipped. A commoner became the lord of misrule, overseeing feasts, games, and merriment. Neighbors shared food, families gathered by the fire, and the bonds of community strengthened. It was a small but crucial reminder that humanity could thrive even in the harshest conditions. The wealthy were not immune. Even in grand castles, keeping the royal court warm was a monumental task. Massive stores of firewood were needed. Kitchens worked tirelessly to preserve food, and servants blocked every draft. Yet winter could be deadly. Chroniclers tell of Queen Elizabeth of Hungary, who tragically froze to death in her own palace in 1326. Even castles offered no guaranteed protection against winter's cruel grip. Winter also brought disease. In cramped and unsanitary homes, influenza and pneumonia spread rapidly. The winter of 1557 saw over 10,000 die in Paris from flu. Children, newborns, and the elderly were especially vulnerable. Parents faced unimaginable choices. Infants sometimes died in large numbers. Small acts of care, a log for warmth, a shared meal, could mean life or death. Winter was a season that tested both body and spirit. For peasants, food was scarce. Firewood and supplies were precious. People foraged for whatever could survive the cold: nettles, mushrooms, and hardy roots. Meals were simple: pottage with peas, beans, salted pork, and foraged greens. Yet famine was never far away. The Great Famine of 1315 left entire regions desperate, with people turning to extreme measures to survive. Even in the darkest times, communities banded together, sharing what little they had. Winter shaped culture. Travel was limited, daylight was short, and people found entertainment indoors. Families told stories, sang songs, and worked on crafts like sewing, weaving, or whittling. The literate read out loud from whatever books they could afford: a Bible, a Book of Hours, tales of Robin Hood. Alehouses thrived, providing warmth, social interaction, and the occasional lively debate. Religion played a central role. Pilgrimages, prayer, and charitable acts were important, guiding people through the bleak months. Even crime had a seasonal pattern. Desperation sometimes pushed people to theft or violence. Eventually, signs of spring would appear. Plough Monday, the first Monday after Epiphany, marked the start of the agricultural year. Fields thawed, plows cut through the soil, and life slowly returned. This small victory against winter's grip brought immense relief. Medieval people measured time not just in days, but in cycles of survival, celebration, and the promise of renewal. For us, with central heat, well-stocked pantries, and warm clothes, the hardships of medieval winters may seem unimaginable. Yet reflecting on their resilience can inspire us. They endured famine, disease, isolation, and brutal cold, but still found ways to celebrate, connect, and hope. Next time winter feels long, remember the generations before us who braved months of cold and survived through sheer determination, community, and spirit. Their lives remind us that even in darkness, warmth and light can be found. So as you snuggle into your warm bed tonight, spare a thought for the medieval souls who faced winter with courage. Their endurance, compassion, and ingenuity are legacies that continue to inspire us. No matter how dark or cold life may seem, the promise of spring, hope, and renewal is always waiting. Even after the first thaw, winter's shadow lingered. The earth remained hard, and many of the challenges persisted. Fields were muddy and treacherous, rivers still partially frozen, and food stores often dangerously low. Yet for medieval people, this was a moment of cautious hope, a time to rebuild and prepare for the warmth to come. They celebrated these early signs of spring with rituals and gatherings, small joys that reminded them of life's cyclical rhythm. The returning sunlight was precious. Villagers measured it not by hours or minutes, but by the gradual lengthening of the days and the softening of the frozen soil beneath their feet. Even in modern comfort, we can't fully imagine the patience and persistence required to survive such a winter. Each day demanded resourcefulness, knowing how to stretch a meal, keep a fire alive, care for animals, and support your neighbors. The medieval calendar dictated life so closely that every celebration, feast, or moment of rest was tied to survival itself.
Winter also revealed the best of humanity. When one family ran out of food, neighbors shared what little they had. When illness struck, villagers pooled knowledge and resources to care for the sick. These small acts, offering a loaf of bread, an extra log for firewood, or a warm blanket, could literally save lives. Stories from chronicles capture these moments of generosity. Two families, nearly starving, sharing a single pot of stew. Villagers forming watch groups to ensure the elderly and children survived the cold, and strangers offering shelter to travelers lost in blizzards. These were not grand gestures, but humanity at its most profound, small flickers of light in the darkest season. The dangers of winter went beyond hunger and frostbite. Sickness, as we mentioned, was relentless. Influenza, pneumonia, and other diseases ravaged communities. In cities, overcrowded homes and poor sanitation made survival even more difficult. Newborns and children were especially vulnerable. Records from London in the 1500s show that half of all children didn't survive past their 5th birthday. Even the wealthy weren't entirely safe. Courtiers and royalty lived in grand stone castles, but these were drafty and difficult to heat. Large halls were impossible to warm, and illness could spread rapidly through the constant movement of people. Survival, no matter your status, required preparation, vigilance, and a bit of luck. Despite these challenges, medieval people found ways to enrich their lives. Winter nights were long and dark, but they were filled with stories, songs, and small pleasures. Around flickering rushlights or tallow candles, families and friends gathered. They told tales of heroes, tricksters, and lovers, stories passed down to entertain, teach, and inspire. Games, gambling with dice, and alehouses offered entertainment and social interaction. People laughed, debated, and occasionally fought, but always within a framework that reinforced community. Even religion provided comfort. Prayer, pilgrimages, charitable works, and pageants gave structure, meaning, and purpose to long, harsh months. Winter also had a moral and spiritual weight. Harsh conditions forced reflection and introspection. People saw charity as a duty. Helping the sick, feeding the hungry, and supporting the community were not just acts of kindness, they were essential to survival. Even small gestures of goodwill could ripple through a village, sustaining both body and spirit. For those who survived, the arrival of spring was more than relief. It was triumph. Each furrow plowed, each seed planted, and each life preserved represented the human capacity to endure, adapt, and hope. As we reflect on these stories, it's humbling. In a world of central heat, grocery stores, and instant communication, we forget what true hardship meant. Medieval winters demanded ingenuity, grit, and cooperation just to make it through each day. Yet even in such conditions, people celebrated, loved, and found joy. Theirs was a life of resilience, where hope wasn't a luxury, but a necessity. They remind us that even in our modern comfort, patience, compassion, and community remain essential. Their lives inspire us to face our own winters, the challenges, obstacles, and cold seasons of life, with courage and empathy. So tonight, as you settled into warmth, consider this. In a small, snow-covered village centuries ago, families huddled together around a flickering fire, telling stories to pass the long hours. Neighbors knocked on doors with a pot of stew. Children slept beside shivering parents. Every day was a struggle, yet every day was also an opportunity to endure and to hope. Winter, with all its harshness, shaped not just the land, but humanity itself. It forged community, compassion, and resilience. And when the snow finally melted, when the first green shoots pushed through the frozen earth, it was a victory celebrated in quiet triumph. May we carry this legacy forward, finding warmth in our communities, hope in small joys, and courage in the face of life's seasons. Even after the snow began to melt and the first green shoots appeared, the memory of winter lingered. The months of cold, hunger, and hardship left a mark on every village, every household, and every individual. For medieval people, winter wasn't just a season. It was a test of endurance, courage, and community. They learned to value small joys, a shared meal, a warm fire, a kind word from a neighbor. These simple acts of humanity became the backbone of survival. In a way, winter taught people how to truly care for one another, to lean on each other, and to celebrate life's fleeting moments of warmth and comfort. Plow Monday and the first signs of spring were more than agricultural markers. They were symbols of hope and renewal. After months of frozen earth and scarcity, people rejoiced in the smallest victories: a softening field, the first crocus pushing through snow, or a calf born healthy in the barn. For medieval communities, life was measured by cycles: hardship followed by celebration, scarcity followed by abundance, and darkness followed by light. And through it all, they endured, passing down lessons of resilience that still resonate today. As we sit comfortably in our heated homes with grocery stores and medicine at our fingertips, it's easy to forget the true cost of winter in a world without modern conveniences. But the lives of medieval people remind us that even in the darkest, coldest months, humans can find joy, connection, and hope. We may never face the same kind of survival challenges, but the spirit of resilience lives on in each of us. Every challenge we face, whether literal winter or the metaphorical winters of life, is an opportunity to draw on that same courage, ingenuity, and compassion. Picture a small, snow-covered village centuries ago. Families huddle around fires, neighbors share what they can, and children laugh despite the cold. The land is harsh, the months long, but humanity persists. And when the snow finally melted, when the rivers run free again, life returns, not as it was, but stronger, shaped by winter's trials. Even now, we can learn from this. The bonds of community, the quiet moments of joy, and the courage to endure difficult times are timeless lessons from our ancestors. Even as spring approached, the memories of winter's hardships remained vivid. Every villager, peasant, and noble had a story of survival etched into their bones. Children who had shivered through the cold, elders who had guided them through scarce months, and families who had shared what little they had, all were unsung heroes of the season. These quiet acts of endurance, feeding the hungry, tending the sick, gathering firewood, were not recorded in grand chronicles, but they formed the true heart of medieval life. They remind us that heroism isn't always in battle or glory. Often it's in simply surviving and helping others survive alongside you. Medieval people measured life in seasons. Winter was harsh, spring brought relief, summer offered abundance, and autumn prepared for what was to come. Through these cycles, they learned patience, foresight, and the importance of planning and community. Even today, we can take inspiration from this rhythm. Life, like the seasons, is cyclical. Challenges will come, sometimes harsh and unrelenting, but each trial carries lessons and the promise of eventual renewal. Picture a long winter evening in a small village. Smoke rises from chimneys into a sky thick with stars. Families sit close to a flickering hearth, sharing stories, laughter, and small comforts. A grandmother recounts tales of her childhood winters. A father sharpens tools by candlelight. Children huddled with blankets, wide-eyed at the adventures in her voice. These moments weren't luxuries, they were essential for morale, for human connection, and for hope. And in those stories, the human spirit shone brighter than any fire. Perhaps the greatest lesson from medieval winters is the power of community. Survival wasn't just about food or firewood. It was about relying on each other, sharing resources, and ensuring no one was left behind. Acts of generosity, no matter how small, could tip the balance between life and death. In a world without social safety nets or modern conveniences, humans relied on each other, and this reliance forged bonds that lasted a lifetime. Even today, the principle remains true. Compassion and community are the foundation of resilience.
Winter was also a time for introspection and faith. In the long, cold nights, villagers turned to prayer, meditation, and rituals. For many, these spiritual practices offered comfort, purpose, and a sense of control in a world dominated by harsh natural forces. Even small acts, lighting a candle for a loved one, attending a midnight mass, or quietly helping a neighbor, became symbols of hope and defiance against despair. As we sit in our heated homes, scrolling through our devices, it's easy to forget how difficult survival once was. The struggle against winter in medieval Europe reminds us to value what we have: warmth, food, health, and the support of community. It also reminds us that resilience is timeless. The same human spirit that endured centuries of snow, famine, and disease lives in us today. We may face different challenges, but the lessons of courage, compassion, and perseverance remain universal. Thank you for joining me tonight on this journey through medieval winters. May these stories inspire you to find strength in adversity, warmth in community, and hope in every season of life. And as you settle into your own warm bed tonight, remember, no matter how harsh the winter, spring always comes again. Stay safe, stay warm, and until we meet again in our cozy corner of history, sweet dreams.